My family owns a quaint vacation cabin high in the rugged Rocky Mountains of Colorado, a place that has been in our family for over 40 years. My parents, both lifelong skiing enthusiasts who met while racing down snowy slopes, bought the cabin as a retreat to escape the everyday and immerse themselves in winter splendor. Although the cabin clearly shows its age, with weathered wooden beams, chipped paint, and creaking floors, the rustic imperfections give it an undeniable charm. Over the decades, my dad has devoted countless hours to maintaining the property, patching up leaks and restaining the wooden porch, ensuring that despite its age the cabin remains a beloved haven. Even now, as he often contemplates tearing it down to build a modern vacation home, I tend to remain detached, content with the memories and history that the old cabin embodies. I vividly recall one particular winter that remains etched in my memory. It was roughly 15 years ago when I was 8 years old and my older brother, Evan, was 11. We had come up to Colorado during a massive blizzard that transformed the entire landscape into a breathtaking white expanse. The cabin sat isolated in an enormous clearing surrounded on all sides by towering pines that whispered secrets with every gust of wind. A narrow, dead-end road wound its way downhill to neighboring properties that, in the silence of the storm, looked like ghostly fortresses. For my brother and me, this remote location was nothing short of magical. The vast openness and the endless drifts of snow provided the perfect backdrop for the kind of adventures that only childhood can know. That day, filled with excitement and trepidation, Evan and I donned our thickest snowsuits and ventured outside. We had invented our own game, snowball flight contest with elaborate rules only we could understand. Each of us was to choose a secret spot to build a fort and construct a giant wall of snow, which we dubbed the Jewel, that the other would have to capture and carry back to our base. Evan, ever the strategist, decided to build his fort on a neighboring property. We knew that the area was almost always empty, cars rarely disturbed the serene isolation of the place. After he dashed off, full of youthful energy, I was instructed to wait for his signal, a whistle, to start the game. I waited patiently for what felt like an eternity as the wind howled around me, but more than 5 long minutes passed without a sound. It was then that I began to worry that Evan might have forgotten or that he was hidden so well I couldn't see him. Uncertain and anxious, I resolved to find him on my own. The thought of trekking through the dark, storm-ravaged woods was terrifying for an 8-year-old, so I decided to follow the familiar, albeit snow-covered, road instead. With each step through the unplowed, slushy snow, my small boots sank in deep, and icy flakes stung my cheeks beneath layers of clothing my mom had insisted I wear. Approaching the driveway of the neighboring property, I squinted through the swirling snow, expecting to see a glimpse of my brother's cheerful face. Instead, all I could make out was the solitary outline of his snow fort, a silent, isolated structure amid the endless white. A surge of determination mixed with a growing sense of unease pushed me forward. Just as I neared the fort, a loud, unexpected shout tore through the howling wind. "Excuse me, are you looking for your brother?" I spun around, my heart pounding so hard I was sure it would burst, and saw an older woman standing at the front door of a nearby house. Her eyes were cold and unyielding, and her voice, calm yet chilling, repeated, "Your brother isn't here." Confused and frightened, I hesitated only for a moment before summoning every ounce of courage I had and moving toward her house. As I approached, the woman's features came into focus, her face was lined with age and hardship, her gaze stern and unwelcoming. Then, I noticed something even stranger. In one of the upstairs windows, a shadowy figure peered out. The figure's head was partially hidden beneath a black beanie, and I could see a trail of fresh footprints leading from the front door, along with another set that appeared to double back into the dark woods. The woman smiled, a smile that seemed both inviting and unnerving, and gestured for me to come inside, as if to offer shelter from the bitter cold. For a split second, I was torn between running and staying. Instinctively, I shouted, "Evan," hoping my brother might answer. But the silence that followed was suffocating. The woman's smile faded, and I noticed that the second set of footprints curved back into the trees as though someone had just retraced their steps. Soon after, I heard heavy, deliberate footsteps echo from inside the house, as if someone was slowly descending the stairs. Panic surged, and I bolted from the property, my small legs barely keeping up as I retraced my steps through the deep, swirling snow. The storm blurred my vision, and the roaring wind drowned out my frantic heartbeat. In the distance, I faintly heard my dad's familiar whistling, a comforting sound that, as a child, always signified it was time to head home. When I finally reached our driveway, my dad and Evan were waiting, their faces etched with worry. Later, Evan explained that he had heard strange voices coming from the neighbor's house and was too frightened to come out, while my dad had gone over with a tool in hand to inspect the premises. Although the police were called and an investigation was launched, they found no signs of forced entry or habitation on that property that weekend. Still, my parents took extra precautions, retrieving valuable items for safekeeping and advising us to steer clear of the area. Since that day, Evan and I have never played near that mysterious property, and even now, the memory of that eerie night sends shivers down my spine, reminding me that some secrets are better left unexplored. Skiing has been a part of my life for as long as I can remember. My parents, who once competed on the slopes, instilled in my siblings and me a passion for the sport from an early age. Fast forward about 20 years, and at 21, I was a senior in college ready for a winter trip that would forever change my perspective on adventure. It's well known that the best skiing in the Northeast can be found in Vermont, and this trip was supposed to be a classic escape, a chance to carve through pristine powder with my closest friends, Blake, Connor, and Dylan. I still remember the vastness of the resort. The mountain stretched out before us with at least 7 ski lifts spanning multiple peaks, and every downhill run felt like a thrilling race against time. Although I suspect the resort might have been Killington, what remains clear is the rush of adrenaline as we navigated double black diamond slopes and reveled in the camaraderie that comes only with shared adventure. The crisp mountain air, the crunch of skis on fresh snow, and the brilliant blue sky overhead created an atmosphere that was both invigorating and almost surreal. On the second day of the trip, after a morning of tackling our favorite runs and trading playful challenges, we decided to test our limits even further. As tradition dictated, we started our day with several rounds of fireball shooters, a ritual that pumped us up and set our spirits aflame with reckless energy. The liquid warmth surged through us, and for a moment, we felt as if nothing could stop us from conquering the mountain. Our laughter and boisterous cheers filled the slopes until, unexpectedly, 2 stunning young women approached us. One was a confident brunette with piercing eyes that seemed to see right through you, and the other a vivacious blonde with a dazzling smile. They introduced themselves as Isla and Morgan. The girls explained that they had been dropped off at the resort and were bored, noting that the mountain was overwhelmingly populated by older skiers that day, a remark that resonated with a similar observation I had made to my friends the day before. Their casual, friendly approach soon evolved into a playful challenge. Isla complimented our energy and daring, while Morgan, with a mischievous glint in her eye, produced an unmarked bottle and dared us to finish it in one gulp, claiming that doing so would unlock our true skiing potential. The challenge ignited a spark among us. With competitive fervor, we clinked our cups and downed the bottle in one synchronized gulp. The fiery liquid burned its way through our insides, leaving us both exhilarated and slightly reckless. For a few brief moments, we felt invincible, racing down the slopes with the wind in our hair and laughter echoing in our ears. Yet even as we basked in the thrill, an undercurrent of tension began to seep in, a sense that the mountain held secrets far deeper than its snow-covered trails. As the afternoon waned and the temperature began to drop, we decided to venture off the beaten path and explore a lesser-known trail called Devil's Forest. Isla described it as a hidden glade trail that wound its way through a thick stand of trees, offering not only stunning vistas but also a tantalizing hint of danger. Despite my inner voice urging caution, the allure of discovering something unknown was irresistible. We gathered our gear and set off under the glow of a full moon. The snow glistened like scattered diamonds, and the silence of the forest was profound, broken only by the soft swish of our skis and the distant call of an owl. As we delved deeper into Devil's Forest, the familiar world of the resort faded away. The trees grew denser, and the shadows lengthened into eerie shapes that danced on the untouched snow. Suddenly, without warning, Dylan's face turned pale as he pointed toward a cluster of trees where a vague, indistinct figure moved slowly. At first, I assumed it was an animal, perhaps a deer or a stray fox, but then Isla's hushed remark, "That doesn't look right," sent a chill through us. The air seemed to thicken with an almost palpable dread, and a soft, barely audible whisper, carried by the wind, made our hearts race. Before we could decide whether to press on or retreat, a deep, gravelly voice echoed among the trees, "You shouldn't be out here." Those words reverberated through the silent forest, freezing us in place. For what felt like an eternity, we stood together, paralyzed by fear, the only sounds our own labored breathing and the distant, ominous rustle of leaves. Finally, with heavy hearts and trembling limbs, we agreed to leave. Our descent back to the main resort was a silent, sorrowful journey, each step laden with the weight of unanswered questions and a newfound wariness of the mountain's hidden depths. Even after we rejoined the bustling energy of the resort, the memory of Devil's Forest lingered, haunting my thoughts every time I closed my eyes. Now, whenever I find myself on a quiet slope or when an unknown sound echoes in the distance, I'm reminded of that night, the oppressive silence, the mysterious voice, and the shadow of a figure that seemed to warn us of dangers hidden deep in the woods. That trip transformed my perception of adventure, teaching me that even in nature's most pristine landscapes, secrets and perils may lie just beyond the well-trodden path. My name is Ethan, and I met my girlfriend Elise 3 years ago when we were freshmen at a prestigious university, a dream school I had admired since childhood. Both Elise and I hail from Ohio. She grew up in Cincinnati, while I was raised in a quiet suburb near Dayton. Our shared Midwestern roots helped forge an immediate and deep connection, even as we navigated a college culture largely dominated by Californians. One of our most cherished traditions is splitting Christmas between our families. Elisa's family, known for their warmth and hospitality, welcomed us with open arms, so we decided early on to spend Christmas Eve with my family, who celebrate that night, and then drive overnight to her home for Christmas Day. For us, the magic of the holiday was found not only in festive gatherings but also in the long, silent drive along secluded backroads, where the world seemed to pause and the only sounds were our whispered conversations and the soft hum of our favorite songs. I vividly remember one unforgettable Christmas Eve. After a heartwarming dinner with my extended family, Elise and I loaded my car around midnight and set off on our long-awaited drive. Outside, the snow fell in gentle, glistening flakes that transformed the landscape into a breathtaking winter wonderland, expansive white fields, shadowed groves of trees, and solitary farmhouses illuminated by the faint glow of distant streetlights. Inside the car, the atmosphere was warm and intimate, our voices were soft, our laughter tender, and our favorite holiday tune played on repeat, a song that had become our personal anthem of hope and connection. Then, without warning, my phone began to ring persistently. At first, I assumed it was another routine spam call, but as the calls grew more insistent, I answered with a curt, "Hello," only to be met by an eerie silence. I increased the volume, and soon a low, emotionless male voice emerged from the line. "Hello, Ethan." The voice was disturbingly calm as it methodically recited details about my life, my full name, my address, even snippets of private conversations Elise and I had shared, details that no stranger should possibly know. My heart pounded with terror as the voice paused, and then delivered its final, bone-chilling message, "I'm not here for you, Ethan, I'm here for Elise." I glanced over at Elise, her face turned ashen, and I managed to whisper, "I don't know who you are." The voice responded with a dark, hollow chuckle before the line abruptly went dead. In that moment, panic overwhelmed me. I pulled over to the side of the deserted road, my hands trembling uncontrollably as I clutched the phone. I tried calling back repeatedly, but every attempt ended in voicemail. The sense of violation and vulnerability was overwhelming. How could someone have gathered such intimate details about our lives? Even after we reached Elisa's driveway safely, the terror of that midnight call clung to me like a shadow. In the weeks that followed, every time my phone rang, I felt a shiver of dread, fearful that the unknown number might call again. I asked my family for answers, but none could explain how a stranger could have amassed so much personal information, leaving me with a lingering sense of distrust and isolation. That chilling call changed me profoundly. I became far more cautious, vigilant, and every unexpected ring of my phone now sends a jolt of fear down my spine. Nearly a month later, the memory of that call remains indelibly etched in my mind, a constant reminder that in today's digital age, our personal lives can be invaded by someone with sinister intent. I find myself checking my phone compulsively, and even at night, the silence is pierced by the haunting echo of that call. It has altered my sense of security and forced me to reconsider the true cost of privacy in our modern world. Every night, as I lie awake in the dark, I wonder if that unknown caller will ring again, if the line will light up with another message that might unravel more of our secrets. That fear, that vulnerability, is a lesson I will never forget, a chilling reminder that our lives, no matter how carefully we try to shield them, are never entirely private. And so, as I continue to move forward, I do so with a newfound wariness, a deep appreciation for the simple safety of silence, and the memory of that midnight call echoing in every unexpected ring of my phone.